love, love, love till I hear the breath of the Spirit flowing in me.
Hello, welcome to Spirit of Life. My name is Geraldine Lee, your host, and our guest from last week is Helen Alcock. Welcome, Helen.
Hi.
It's great to have you back again.
Thank you.
You were talking about agape. Could you tell us a little bit how it developed for the people from last week?
Well, probably after about 20 years of being in very many organisations and ultimately heading up the healing ministry in Catholic Charismatic Renewal for a period of time, I just felt drawn to step aside, and I could see something quite different happening in the healing ministry from my point of view, where I was called to. And I'd always had a great calling and love to go out beyond just people who were involved in church or church organisations, but people who were just out on the street.
The unchurched.
Anywhere. People who'd given it up, whatever. So when I stepped aside from the way we did it in this organisation, I felt the call to step down and step aside. I found all these people still coming to seek us, and we've seen hundreds and hundreds of people over the years who've come seeking our help to come to a place of peace and clarity. And so after 6 months, and I was very reluctant to form anything, but there was a group of 10 or 12 people and I who spent about an hour or more in quiet and peace, and also were seeing people. We noticed that the whole way of dealing with them was just to become a facilitator, learning how to ask the divine counsellor, the wonderful counsellor, to show them what they were feeling, what they were believing and thinking, and letting it all come up as a result of their situation. And then often they'd go to the memory, we'd ask the same question, and then we would invite the truth in.
Would you give an example of the process, like from someone you prayed with?
Yes. It's a fairly extreme example, but someone actually facilitated me. So it's rather than kind of laying on of hands, there's nothing wrong with that, we still do that. And you pray for people and give them words of knowledge, which can be dangerous. People always should discern them themselves, just in case it's not the human vessel person giving them words and people hang on them too much. But in this case, we facilitate people, and I was facilitated at this particular time because I was having a real problem in my life of feeling really alone. I have a beautiful husband who I met at the age of 15, but he was working huge hours, 6 days a week. And again, like I talked about earlier, I would get this overwhelming feeling of aloneness, an emptiness, and as much as I would try on a human level, it wouldn't go away. So I felt the aloneness, the sense of abandonment, etc., and all the other emotions I felt. And one of my colleagues from Agape Encounter helped me, and she allowed me to just let go, and I drifted back to what I call is a memory that was in the dark. Now I understand that's disassociation. We've seen this hundreds and hundreds of times, but in that dark space was just a sense of being in the womb, just a kind of a knowing. And I experienced a feeling of being abandoned, alone, powerless, trapped, and also feeling like I had no right to speak. I had no right to be there in the first place. And then as they were all my beliefs, that I had no right to be there, I was nothing, I encountered the truth. She asked, what is the truth here? The spirit of wisdom and truth. And I experienced this extraordinary light, really light into the darkness. And as a result of that, I had the most extraordinary flow on from that. I felt utter peace. I didn't feel alone or abandoned again. Asked my mother what the situation was like. A week later, she confirmed that's how she had been feeling when I was in her womb.
Oh, wow.
So every feeling I'd had, every belief I had had, she had had. She was in dire straits. And I said to her, look, I had a sense, I've got to ask you this question, did you want me or not want me? Because I thought, I want this confirmed. Because I must have just making this up. Anyway, she said, no, I didn't want you. But she said, oh, nothing to do with you though, just because of my circumstances. Because I'd already got before that I felt unwanted. But I had no emotion to that anymore. There was utter peace. It had been filled, that emptiness had been filled. And then Mum began to tell me she'd gone through an extraordinarily difficult time then. And I was able to be present to her. So not only was I healed, but she was as well.
Oh, that's amazing.
But can I share with you just what happened after that?
Yes.
Because I had been longing for my husband to have more time, and it almost brought us to a crisis in our marriage. But I had got that word stay, so I did. I had this what I call an encountering experience. And within a week of that, I hate to say this, but I was sitting on the loo and I heard these words coming to my voice, into my mind, you're going to hear something and don't say anything. And I'm thinking, what? Where did that come from? Went outside, my husband said, I've got something to tell you. I'm thinking, Helen, shush, don't say a word.
Yeah.
And he said, I'm going to sell a business. So I had the encounter, came to an utter peace where I no longer desired or needed or wanted him to be there, and then I got what I wanted anyway.
That's
He
amazing.
sold the business and had space and time.
Yeah, it's amazing what happens when you let go.
You change the inside, memory, the outside of your life lines up and it just changes where you're at in your life.
And your mother too, having that encounter with her was wonderful too.
Well, that went on for a long period of time where once upon a time I used to go to Mum, and darling Mum is always there for us. But Mum was trying to make us like in her image and likeness and how we should be living. And because I was so sensitive and felt like I wasn't good enough, etc., I'd go home almost in tears. Well, after that experience, all these experiences, I was able to be present to her because I no longer wanted anything from her.
Yes. Oh, I need to go for a break now. You've been watching Spirit of Life. Stay with us and we'll be back after the break. Welcome back to Spirit of Life. My name is Geraldine Lee, your host, and our guest is Helen Alcock. Welcome back, Helen. You were telling about your mother, you're sharing about how your relationship with her and that encounter you had.
Well, after my encounter, and my relationship with her totally changed. And not that I didn't have a good one, but there was a lot of unresolved issues. But after that, gone. And then I was able to be present to her, and she became almost like a girlfriend rather than a mother. And she began to disclose things about her past and traumatic times in her past. And I was able to help her get in touch with her feelings and what was going on, and then often the memories of being in a void or a blank space. And she came to a place of peace. And in fact, to the point that we would go away, and she was near her 90s then, and we would have time away at the beach. And we would sit up, and honest to goodness, it would just be like you'd be with your girlfriend. And that was totally different to what my relationship had been. And my people around me said, how can you do that? Because they hadn't yet resolved their relationship or resolved some of the things they had felt. So I felt very blessed to have this and realised what a precious time. And I thought, thank God I got clear.
Yes, and what do you do actually when you say encounter? Do you ask a series of questions? Do you pray or do you put on music? How does it,
Well, very much like when somebody's not feeling well, you say, how are you feeling? So it's like when you're not centred and peaceful and calm, it's when you only use this, otherwise you just enjoy life. But in the workshops we show them how to look at the situation that's upsetting them we don't talk about the story so much, but just focus on it. And we say, well, how does that make you feel? And so what are my experiences over the years, many people are out of touch with their feelings until they're at the explosive stage or the depressed stage. So it's really good to stay in touch with how do you really feel about things, angry, resentful, I don't know, in despair, any other feelings like that, and allow it all to come up. It really is such a release. And then those feelings lead on to, on the workshop, we ask the wonderful counsellor to say, well, in that, would you reveal to the people? Because it's all about connections.
So the people really have to have an ability to listen to God in order to get the new experience, would you say?
Well, once they get unclogged, when they allow the feelings to rise up, because it's about themselves, and we ask the wonderful counsellor to show them that, they don't have to really get in touch. Just the grace flows there. They get unclogged with their feelings, and then all the beliefs will come. It's like there's space made for them in a new ability then to be able to hear another perspective, the perspective of truth. But after all the beliefs have come up, and that's what holds all the emotions together. You know, I'm useless, I'm no good, I'm nothing. It's my fault, I'm responsible is huge. And then people are usually responsible and take control in their life and crash again and again.
Are there blocks to hearing, like unforgiveness or things like that?
Well, that's what we call also consequences too. The decisions like I'll never tell anyone, that's a block. Roles we take on of being responsible, controlling, guarding, protecting, it's very hard to get through unless we say, would you allow us just to listen to that aspect or that part of you that's hurting? And certainly unforgiveness. But unforgiveness kind of dissolves anyway. That just goes. But the big one is self-judgment, self-condemnation of self and also of others. And I have to let everyone know, I did this for years. I wondered why condemnation and judgment came to me. I attracted it. Why? And then I asked, and all of a sudden I was made aware that I was constantly critiquing myself, judging myself, and that just opened a door for everyone else to do it. I closed that and made a decision that changed my life. And that decision was, I'm just going to choose to learn from my mistakes. What's good about this? What can I learn from it? And to gain wisdom's perspective, so it brings me closer to unity and harmony with the truth.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And what process happens during a workshop, a seminar, I should say?
Well, the process as well is we have both a seminar and a workshop. A seminar about the topics that people don't know. For instance, the last one was on how transforming relationships. How do you do that? How do you deal with conflict? How do you deal with your own anger? And we had to deal with how you like yourself, and don't like yourself first, your own relationship with yourself. So in a seminar, you'll just listen to a topic, which really gives you knowledge, because people perish through lack of knowledge. And we take them through very simple meditations, a three-way perspective meditation, so they can actually get to see how they see themselves, or they like or dislike themselves, because again, many people are judged. That's a seminar. On a workshop situation, we will use most of the time on a topic, but only briefly will we talk about the topic. It might be, next one's actually on forgiveness. How do you forgive? Particularly when you've been abused and you really have a justifiable anger. We show people how to use their anger constructively. So we've got much more time to take them through the process of the situation, the feelings, the beliefs, the blockages that we talked about before, self-hatred and judgment. And then slowly they can bring it all to the surface, hear the truth. And they also have the opportunity of me watching either myself or someone else work with someone at the front, and they can see the breakthrough. They can see what the person's like and what they visibly look like and how they're transformed.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And you also use drama as a way to bring the message through, don't you?
Well, people come from all backgrounds. As I said before, I've got such a heart from people from whether they believe in God or don't believe in God, or given up in God, or are atheists, or any background that can come along, because most people have. I don't think anyone's got a perfect life.
Yes. On that note, we need to go for a break.
Okay.
You've been watching Spirit of Life. Stay with us and we'll be back after the break.
Go till I feel the breath of the Spirit flowing in me. Go till I feel the breath of the Spirit flowing in me.
Hello, welcome back to Spirit of Life. My name is Geraldine Lee, your host, and our guest is Helen Alcock. Welcome back, Helen. You were telling about how you use drama during your workshops and seminars.
I think because people come into our workshops or seminars, we do it both. We alternate seminars with workshops. One's much more interactive than the other. But I'll give you an example why. It makes people laugh at the beginning of our time together, the 3 hours we've got together. And so we engage with them and they begin to relax a little bit. And invariably, the thing that I use is a situation from life, and it will touch somebody in the audience whose lives can change as a result of that. Can I give you such
yes, I'd love to hear an
Yeah, and this
example.
is quite a dramatic one, but it's profound and it still brings me to tears almost. I actually invite the audience up so they get engaged in it if they would like. And this particular gentleman got involved, and apparently I was speaking about his life. Now I had no idea, I had never met him before, so I often just allow the Spirit to guide me and bring up, have a sense of it, but then let it evolve. And it's only for about 3 or 4 minutes. And he sat down and then he began to break down. The team took him out the back, and after the seminar, they came back and he was so peaceful. He shared, 6 weeks later he walked back in, and I didn't recognise him. And he said to me, "You don't recognise me, do you? I came here 6 weeks ago." And I had such a change happen in me from my childhood memory of abuse that I have to tell you what happened. So he got up in front of the audience and said, "When I arrived here 6 weeks ago, I was on a bottle of whiskey a day."
Wow.
And he said, after I was taken ever so gently back to the memory of abuse in my life, and I was able to express my feelings and beliefs, and I experienced what I call as a presence of the Mother Mary. In his case, that's who he related to. And he said such peace came and all the shame and everything else dissolved. And he said, I went home, he said, not only did I not want to look at whiskey, but he said, I no longer desired it. He said, I haven't touched it in 6 weeks, and I feel so different. So I was deeply and profoundly touched by that, and there's many other people that have had similar things who, in the workshop, we bring them up the front if they want, and the people can see the change that can happen with them.
Yeah, it's amazing. I've been to one of the workshops where I've seen people come very depressed, and when they have an encounter, they're like smiling from ear to ear.
Yes, and look, talking about that, on our website, there's a thing called Amazing Stories. People at the end of the seminar or workshop write, how were you when you arrived, if they wish, some people don't, and what happened and how are you now, and it's 1 or 2 lines. And they arrive often stressed, distracted, confused, etc., and leave, more often a good majority, at peace, greater clarity, and we get charged up and we think, oh, this is worthwhile doing, and then we do it month after month with an amazing team, and it's all written up on these amazing stories on the website.
And I'd love you to pray or do a meditation to help people have an experience.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a brief experience, and the guidelines are that you become the observer. You stand back from yourself like you were looking at a television screen. I recommend if you do it with me now, and it's only going to be brief, and we've got CDs on this, just close your eyes if you're comfortable and just allow God, wisdom, truth, Jesus, the Spirit of the Holy Spirit to guide you. So as a result of your life, I ask the Spirit to help you focus on your mind. So just for a second, focus on your mind and look at it. You may have a sense that it's running all over the shop, that it's dark, that it's full of tension. Mine's often full of tension. Accept it. Acknowledge it. Now watch. As you stand back and observe, I'm going to ask the breath of life to flow into your mind. Just observe what happens. If you're open, it can be profound. And moving on, because we have a small amount of time here, I ask you to focus on your body now, and we ask the Spirit of Life to give you a sense of the state of your body. So you reconnect. Could be aching, could be heavy, blobbish. Whatever comes, observe and just accept. And just now watch as I invite the Spirit of Life and Love to breathe the breath of His presence into every area of your life, of your body. Just be aware, acknowledge and see and sense. So, we have your heart. Just switch to your heart as I ask the Holy Spirit to reveal the state of your heart as a result of your life. You might have a sense or an image of brokenness, of blood trickling down it. It could be out of shape. Acknowledge it and accept it. Now watch as I invite the Spirit of Love and just observe to blow the breath of love into your heart. Just allow.
But that's been beautiful, that meditation.
Yes.
And I know you've written a book, and so they can get to know more of you on your website, www.agapeencounter.org, isn't it?
That's correct.
And thank you so much, Helen, and I wish you all the best.
My great pleasure.
You have been watching Spirit of Life. Tune in next week. Goodbye and God bless you.
Bring it to birth and blow where you will. Blow, blow, blow till I be but breath of the Spirit.